Hello, friends, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about LGD versus Team Spirit Game 2. It was a wild one at the Arlington Major. A lot of people asked me to talk about it. To be honest, I think it's a really interesting game. It's crazy, though. A lot of games don't go this far, so I don't know how much legitimate insight I can provide, considering that this is new territory to even pros. Like, I checked, in the last year, I have 8 games that went over 1 hour. I checked some of their pub profiles, very similar. Less than like a percentage of their games ever go over an hour. So for a lot of pro teams, I think a lot of this is just theory of what's good in the late game. And it seemed to me like I can't exactly tell you guys like, oh, this is definitely what you do when you hit 60 minutes with these tier 5 neutrals. I haven't even seen every tier 5 neutral in my own games. So a lot of this is theory. But if you find that stuff interesting, then here we go. So, to me, this game came down a lot to the fact that Team Spirit had better mobility and lockdown, whereas LGD had better heals and saves. Now, both lineups kind of have their strengths. I'm going to skip the whole first 40 minutes because otherwise this video is way too long. But as you get into the late game, I think mobility and lockdown are actually better because you get so much damage potential in the late game that the heals and saves, heals at least, start becoming, less valuable in my opinion. There are a lot of like items to counter heals, such as Eye of Scotty and Shiva's, which Team Spirit has both. So heals start to drop off in value. Saves, depending on the mechanic of the save, can still be good. So Grave is still like, it still fulfills its purpose, but when you can't really catch the enemy to do your damage and like your insane net worths on your heroes aren't getting full value because they're not allowed to hit people, then I think that's when you have a lot of problems. A lot of late game stuff comes down to like really good position fights, playing the map very well, and I think whoever has better mobility and lockdown, it gets that. However, Team Spirit makes a mistake and gets in the back foot. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about this. So this is Team Spirit smoking up. This is about 40 minutes. We will be jumping around a little bit. Here is our initiation, right? We find the target we want, and we can just go before they can even react and like BKB. Sometimes people do react, the crazy pro players, right? But for a lot of times when you have a very easy blink stun, straightforward, that is great. Boundless Strike and Marcy's Dispos are both very easy to use stuns. Same with Fiend's Grip, once you get the right thing. Snowball, very telegraphed. Blink Punch, not so telegraphed, so that's pretty good. But like the Shard on Poison Touch, very telegraphed. The Net on Naga, very telegraphed. So they have a harder time jumping. Team Spirit starts this fight off. The actual fight itself, not that important. Well, I guess it kind of is. But you can see LGD, okay, Razor, he's in trouble, so let's go start trying to like save him, right? So we break out Naga Song, we have the Graves, we're throwing out the heals, the disruptions from Coddle, and we're just going to get out of here. So this is where like the heals and saves are coming to play in favor of LGD. But because you have the mobility, they can just like jump in and do stuff. Now at this stage of the game, 40 minutes, not everyone is totally kitted out. So even though Quap blinked aggressively and now she's kind of being like caught out a little bit, she will get her BKB off, and then shortly after, she's simply going to blink away because even though she was attacked and got pretty low pretty quickly, they don't have like the complete, 70-minute items where everyone's dying really fast. So she's just allowed to blink out, and we have no real lockdown on LGD to like chain stun her out of position and kill her before BKB can come out. So same thing's gonna happen to Monkey King shortly after. Like they want to chase him, or maybe it's not Monkey King. Switching topics, I guess. Razor, who was low, he got saved, but still kind of low. When you have mobility, you can continue to chase these kind of low health heroes and try to finish off the kills. So here's Razor being picked out. Quap, low, but guess what? Just gonna blink away. No stun still, LMAO. Haha. Monkey King, now caught out. Is he in danger? Like, well, not really. They don't have the best mobility to get over here. They don't have the actual lockdown. So Monkey King's gonna get low, but because he's allowed to like kind of move away, he's going to be 4-staffed, and they have no real way to chase. And so LGD kind of loses this fight overall, I'd say, even though it could have gone either way. Like 7K at 40 minutes is a very even game, but they're having trouble doing damage to actually like finish out fights. Jumping ahead to 45 minutes, something I want to mention is that Tusk has a very hard job this game. he has to both initiate for his team because he is the guy with the like BKB piercing walrus punch that's instant, the snowball stun, but then he also needs snowball save. So I think he has a very hard game. That's not really relevant to the fact that they jump him here. And we're actually going to see that LGD wins this fight. And to me, a lot of that is how the fight ends up playing out. So Monkey King ult, you know, comes out. Again, we have the great saves and the disruption to team fights that we can just get out of this. And then they decide to still chase on Team Spirit. And so, like, mobility to avoid fights is void when you use the mobility to start the fight. You have to be very careful with these picks. I think Team Spirit felt a little stronger than they were. But Monkey King kind of gets, like... Monkey King and Quap both kind of ended up, like, directly in the fights very quickly. Razor's in a great spot in the back, so he is linked, double ulted right now to Monkey King. Monkey King is rapidly losing armor and damage. Bane has repeatedly Fiend's gripped Razor, and we're going to see later on, Fiend's gripped Razor during this kind of play, and that prevents Link from doing any damage. And if Monkey King gets away, he doesn't lose any armor either. But this time, the fight positioning is very favorable for LGD. We're on their high ground. Team Spirit has to come up this way, so Razor's getting like a full link off on Monkey King. Even though Naga's getting gripped, here's one of the saves coming out. So Naga stays alive. At this point, Monkey King has just about negative armor, so he's about to start taking pure physical damage, and he has greatly reduced physical damage because of the link going on the full time. Razor, on the other hand, very much buffed up. So when these mobility heroes like jump in, like Quap coming in, trying to finish off that kill, then they finally die. So from here, LGD is able to clean up this fight, because now that the super mobile heroes are gone and we're allowed to just hit things, we can do that. So LGD off of this is going to take 2 sets of racks. Sorry, they're going to take Roche first, and then 2 sets of racks. So even though I think Spirit's lineup is easier in the late game, because of that mistaken team fight right here, they almost completely lost the game. Illusion's pushing this out, and now LGD will slowly take, maybe not that slowly, take these 2 buildings. But they don't quite manage to take this top one. So this is where we start getting into some real late game Dota. You've probably experienced this yourselves, where you lose 2 sets of racks and you have 1 set left. So there's stuff you can do that Team Spirit does that is actually applicable in your own pub games. I'm going to highlight it as we get there. But it involves how you like ward and play. So another case of like saves, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to start going downhill for them soon. So, so we're going to see the Spirit supports put their sentries around here to make sure the enemy has no vision. Because you're now, this is now like a massive objective, because Roche is down. This is all the enemy team has to worry about on LGD. This is all they care about. This is exactly where you're going to play. You don't want the enemy to have any vision in your base. You don't care about anywhere else because you can't leave your base. So you need to make sure your base is very safe. So that's what you're going to see Bane do here. He's going to put down his sentries to make sure his base is safe. And then let's put down another one. This is going to be a game-changing ward right here. This is really good. Where do we need to see? If we are Team Spirit, this is their vision. Like, what do we need to see in this game? I don't care about the rest of this map right now, because the game will be decided possibly in the next fight if we lose this set of racks. So you don't need to hold your observers all too long. He puts it back here because LGD does have a gem. They've also been, using sentries too. They're a pro team as well. So he doesn't want his ward to be like completely killed out here. He's placing it further back. But this observer still gets to see a good distance away for like these backline heroes, the saves that we want to try to kill and disrupt. So that's why this Coddle, thinking he's safe, is actually showing here. And Marcy blinks and is going to toss him back with Aether Lens. This is only possible because of this observer here. And you're looking for this kind of information. They don't need to see so far out because they don't want to take a fight all the way out here, but they want to take it like relatively near here. So this is a very like nice observer ward in that regard. So she comes in, throws the Coddle, and because of that, Tusk is going to have to like try to save. And so we're going to get a much like better fight compared to like over here for Spirit, where last time they were like chasing in here, right? This time they've like pulled people in and they're able to set up, and LGD is the one having to come in and or possibly try to retreat. So as Tusk loses the Aegis, they had to like throw out spells. You see a lot of BKBs being used. I'm going kind of fast, I know, but if we take full time, this is like a 5-hour video. So Quap here, Oh no, she's in a bad spot. Look at that. Razor Link and everything. LMAO, still no stuns on this team, so I'm just gonna blink out. Again, you know, Marcy, gonna just leap away. Monkey King actually looks, you know, in kind of a scary spot, but guess what? All these 4-staffs and everything, because the heroes can turn around because they're not being stunned, they will eventually pick up hexes on LGD, but hexes you can always move. So you can always face away to be 4-staffed by teammates. You can be like trying to get away from the Razor Link and all that stuff. Hexes are good, but they're different than like hard stuns. And so because of that, Team Spirit frequently gets out of fights that they really probably shouldn't. LGD resets a little bit after this, sending illusions at the racks. Ranged racks is easier to rat than melee, because they did use like some cooldowns and stuff during this fight right here. They are just kind of like waiting and relaxing, but they are going to come back. So coming up here, learned our lessons. Let's find that ward. How'd they see that coddle, right? So here's one sentry, and then here's another ward coming up. He's going to glimmer himself, and then watch as 3 cores move in with him to protect this Dazzle, who is carrying detection and observers. So he's trying to get down vision himself to try to figure out, like, how did they see coddle? And we still want to siege this. We want vision. So he comes up here, places his observer like so. Unlucky for him, this is just within the sentry that Bane placed earlier, which is why this is a great sentry from Bane. Check out its range. It just covers this stuff. In fact, it maybe should be even slightly higher up just to cover some of these like very niche corner areas. Or maybe place another one. Oh no, he has the other one here. Sorry, I forgot about that one. So because of that, they take out the observer. Very nice. This play overall, though, is still good for LGD because they were trying to find vision. They got unlucky, but they executed it very well. Bane, off of that, sneaks in, puts his own observer and his own sentry. However, LGD sentry happened to be just outside this sentry, so they actually see these observers and wards placed. LGD now knows this. They're like, oh, we'll go get it this time. It's not going to work out this time, though. Razor still kind of like blinks in to try to like be aggressive, you know? But last time I talked about like the 3 cores being like right here. This time we're a little like more different. And also, so like sneak peek at what's going to happen. Let's look from Spirit's perspective. Their vision's different this time. Last time, their observer only saw like up to here. This time, this new observer and sentry that's been placed sees up to here. So now they do have further vision to take these fights. So when this Dazzle comes in, where are you, Dazzle? Trying to like, oh, I'll be sneaky, provide vision with my gem so that my team can kill this observer sentry. He is now spotted. This observer would not have spotted him, but this new one does. And that's how Spirit can see Dazzle. And they start the fight by killing off one of the save heroes. The guy who's supposed to be like back here. He had to move up because he had the gem and they were out of sentries. So maybe they shouldn't have done that. But either way, he ends up out of position. And this is why he gets killed instantly. And now LGD's in a bad spot. They hadn't like completely waited for all their cooldowns. So like there's still no BKB on Tusk, things like that. So now Tusk is going to get killed by the clones because they're not affected by Song. And this is how Team Spirit is able to chase and start turning the game. Naga, also unfortunate, almost TP's out at the very last fraction of a second. Quite unfortunate, but she is going to be picked off as well. From here, Team Spirit showed they can still win fights. They're just in a very precarious situation from only having one set of racks left. I don't know enough about the Chinese region because I've never really played that region. I don't follow all the Chinese teams because they play at like odd hours to me. It's hard to keep up. I have a feeling they're not as like dirty rat players as like the West, you know? Because from here on forward, I think Spirit does a better job about thinking of their base and thinking about getting ratted than the Chinese team LGD thinks about like being sneaky and trying to rat and get the last mega creep. I think we're going to see some examples going forward where LGD could have possibly just tried to like sneak someone in and take the building. Instead, they play like a very disciplined game, staying together, still doing all the same stuff. From LGD's perspective right now, Queen of Pain just showed on the bottom, and Marcy's showing up here. Queen of Pain does not have Boots of Travel. So when they see these heroes coming up, they're going to decide to buy back. I don't know if this is the right decision or not. I'm not saying that's not like a passive aggressive way of saying like, oh, they shouldn't have done this. I legit don't know, guys. I don't get to 50-minute games with a team coordinated for all this stuff. I think what LGD saw here is that Spirit is really split up. If we buy back, kill 2 cores, you know, we can push that lead into coming out here, take this last mega creep, and we're great. We're good to go. Or, you know, they all force buybacks, then it's fine that we bought back, you know, and then we get out. And we go from there. With both teams having no buyback, then you just need to take like one more good fight, and then there you go. You're like winning solution. And part of the way getting there is like, well, we can take a very good fight here because they're split up. Doesn't quite work out that way though, and I think part of that is due to the lack of lockdown from LGD. So even though there are only 3 heroes, and here you see like Queen of Pain still running in, there's only 3 heroes here. They do a double buyback on Naga and Tusk. Unfortunately, Naga died TPing out, so she does not have her TP, which means she has to run this distance. I say this before in other videos, team fights are decided like in a couple seconds in some cases. And so having to spend several seconds simply walking up here actually makes like kind of a big deal. So Razor gets a good start on this Monkey King, and trying to preempt, again, the fact that they only have hexes right now from the Coddle, so Monkey King can continue to move, and Bane has a Force Staff. Razor tries to preempt this by rushing out here so that he's in the way, so that even as he gets Force Staffed out, he's still in range for the Link. However, this is going to put him in a bad spot because now he's going to start scattering from his team. And they identify like, oh, Bane has killed off Razor several times. By Fiend's gripping him, we're going to put the Lotus, we're going to run at him. But I think this is a bit of a misplay. So Razor actually has double Eye of the Storm right now. And Eye of the Storm only hits whoever is linked if you're linking someone. Eye of the Storm also has quite a short range. When you're only linked to Monkey King, both storms hit rapidly. And that reduces the armor really quickly. He didn't take that talent. I think it's a good talent, though. But even without that talent, with 2 storms, like he's already lost 13 armor. Once he links Bane, Bane actually starts splitting the negative armor. And by chasing Bane, you're actually no longer in range of Monkey King, so Monkey King's no longer getting hit by Eye of the Storm. So Naga has now caught up. Monkey King ult is coming out right now. I think they over-focused Bane. I think they should have just focused the Monkey King, and with all the negative armor, they could have killed him before the Monkey King ult actually does anything. But because they try to like kill off Bane, and then they try to respect the Monkey King ult, like, oh, we shouldn't fight in here, we all scatter. But Monkey King ult is a fantastic zoning tool. So now we have Razor and Tusk on the left side, while Naga and Coddle are on the right side. Dazzle respawning, he tries to teleport right, he's probably on this side. If he tries to TP in here, don't forget Marcy and Quap are running in. We don't know what vision the enemy has here, so he might be TPing into his death. So he probably has to just come up here. And because of that, like, with this mobility, they are just running people down, chasing. Double refresher just to blink further. Sick play by Toronto. Kill off the Razor, now going to force his buyback. You know, this fight started off in theory like 4v3, almost a 5v3, and yet now we've lost Razor for the price of, you know, a Bane so far. Unfortunately, we do have some lockdown. They do pick up the Viper, but this is not really what LGD wanted. They just spent 4 buybacks, or maybe 3 buybacks to kill 2 heroes. And that doesn't, you know, it doesn't feel awesome. So they are going to force the Viper buyback, but this is still not quite, you know, they spent core buybacks, you know, besides mid. Their carry bought back for this, and they didn't really win the fight. After that, everyone just kind of like chilled and relaxed for a bit. I think LGD was feeling like, okay, look, wait for the next Roche. One Rax left. We still have a tier 2, you know. They can't mega us. You know, let's chill, get the Roche. Team Spirit was kind of okay with that. They did try to smoke out. Didn't quite work out. I think LGD, I don't know what the thought process was here, because from their perspective, they have like fantastic vision up here. And I thought they were just waiting for Roche, which now respawns. But they're not up here to scout this out. And in fact, they're down here. I think they're trying to like out efficiency farm right now. I guess maybe someone missed the Roche timer and they didn't know like exactly when Roche could start or stop. But this was a pretty fast Roche spawn, I think. And they're not up here like ready to do this. In fact, they're down here where they like don't have very good vision. I think now as they get a sense that Team Spirit comes out, they are like trying to fall back, but they are not in position right now. They're not playing around their observer. This may not have worked out except for this Bane. I don't know if Spirit does this specifically, but they do pick this Bane a lot, so I feel like maybe this is an intentional plan. Notice that Bane sees a lot farther than, say, like a Monkey King at night. Monkey King sees up to here, Bane sees like all the way over here. This is because Bane has 1200 night vision as opposed to 800 night vision that most heroes have. So because of that, this smoke spots this Tusk. Most other heroes would only see up to here, and you would not know to actually engage this Tusk. But because of Bane's increased night vision, Marcy sees him, instant blink stun. We've now locked down the Tusk, popped his Aeon Disc. And even if you stop there, you're pretty happy. But they do chase further, and LGD is trying to like fall back. They weren't in like the proper position to fight this, so they're trying to use like their spells to get out. The fact that a Grave came out means that you know a Dazzle's here, so Toronto Tokyo is going straight for the Dazzle, going for the saves because he has the mobility, he has the BKB. Has to get his BKB back up because if he gets controlled, he'll die. So even though he didn't Sonic Wave, which, you know, maybe he could have, prioritizes getting BKB back up. I think that's a tough call that a lot of people would mess up, but BKB out is incredibly important against all this like soft magic lockdown. Nothing that pierces like BKB, you know, all these hexes and stuff. So because he gets the second BKB out, he's able to do more damage, chase that Dazzle, miss the ult, but he's zoning him. He's zoning him off, and so Tusk eventually dies in the back. Tusk without buyback. Again, part of this is like the mobility to be able to chase and find the right heroes, with also the increased night vision from Bane. So very nice play from them, and then they're going to fall back to manage their bases. Before doing that, they like shove out as best they can, and then they always keep this in mind. They don't accidentally get, you know, ratted by creeps. They always come back. This is what tells me they're thinking like rats. You know, they're good for this stuff. Now, seeing Quap TP back, LGD tries to smoke out and catch someone, but this is again where their like soft lockdown comes into play. So here's a Hex. He's controlled, but he's still running away, still facing the right way. So now Viper can force staff him and save him. You know, another non-instant ability. So there's also a Lotus on him. So now we're like reflecting stuff, forcing them to Manta out. Like, this should have been a free kill if you have anyone. Like, if you have the Marcy, that Bane is dead 1000%. But without anyone who can lock down quite like that, the only guy who is able to do it is Tusk, who's now, you know, laying here dead. There's no way to just instantly lock down this this Bane and kill him, or whoever you find, you know? This is partly why I think Naga instead of Bloodthorn. Bloodthorn's definitely the better Naga Siren item in general, but I kind of think for this game specifically, especially as they bled into the 60+ minutes, I really feel like an Abyssal is super important. Ways to pierce BKB in the ultra late game. I used to play a lot of late game. It's very common when you're like 3K through... Actually, just like 4K and lower. I think long games are very common. I used to play a lot of Sniper Treant, you know, so long games followed me. And I see this stuff a lot where like you get to the point where you just like BKB rat buildings and no one can stop you if you don't have this kind of stuff. Or like I said, all these mobility, these high burst potentials are coming out. So if you can't control people, they can take these insane risks and you just can't do anything. So I kind of think Abyssal needed to come out. Coming into this Roche fight, again, very nice wards by Team Spirit. Look at this observer. It's right under Marcy right now. It just spots the edge of the stairs. It can't see up the stairs anyways, so we don't care about that since we can't get over here. So this ward is as far back as possible to be safe while still seeing everything they possibly need to see so that Marcy can find the right engage. And that's why coming up here, like Razor's way back here, but they have this observer down. So they're able to jump Razor again before he gets his BKB off, gets Fiend's Gripped and Viper Striked so that he's taking like insane DPS along with a Marcy punching him. So now, even though he gets BKB off, she's able to just punch him down and kill him, which is enabled by this vision. LGD had similar vision, but no actual heroes to be able to do it because Tusk is still dead from earlier. So it's very tough for them. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, like, I don't know, not thinking about being a rat, but Naga Siren doesn't have boots of travel, even though there's only one building left and a very exposed base. I feel like just a casual backpack bots could be very powerful because there are creeps in the base. during all of this and in the fight earlier, there are creeps here. And I don't know. I think you can actually give up this Roche if you mega them. Because as long as you survive one fight, you'd be in a very risky spot. Don't get me wrong. But you're already in a risky spot because you used all your buybacks earlier on LGD. But if Team Spirit is mega'd, you cannot leave your base for more than like 30 seconds. Someone is always stuck back here unless they have bots. And even then, they still can only leave the base for like 30 seconds before you have problems. So I kind of think it's okay to give up the Aegis because you have a lot of heroes fantastic at stalling out fights, like Song. And if you trap 5 heroes here while megas are in your base, you might actually just lose. So I put a lot of value on these megas, and maybe too much. You know, these players are all like twice my MMR. So like, what do I know? But in like hindsight is 2020 and all that. Obviously they're facing a lot of pressure right now at a 60-minute game, you know. But looking back on it, it seems to me like I don't know if they needed to risk this 4v5 fight versus Roche. I think they could have like ratted. They could have been ready to like smoke down here, and then like as soon as Spirit starts doing this stuff, you like try to rat the base and then just like Song TP out. Or like someone bots in and then you recall them with Coddle when people start TPing in and stuff. I think you can force multiple heroes back, which then like delays Roche or like opens up a potential fight from there. Instead, they only try to force this while Team Spirit is doing their best to like maintain the base. They even lost some, you know, because this is what I'm talking about. It's not easy to deal with this stuff. The creeps are still doing this. So anyone who comes in here and adds a little like rat pressure, it's very scary. And as long as creeps are down here or here, you can kill the other racks. You don't have to have like the top lane creeps in, which Spirit has been relatively good about keeping pushed out. From there, Spirit get the top set of racks to help this lane, especially because they only have 1 racks. This lane will actually now naturally push up this way because they equalize this, so that has relieved them of some pressure, and now they can spend a bit more time focusing on the other lanes and have an easier time with that. This is where the tier 5 neutrals get out and the game gets a little wild. So let's talk about that, because for the most part they're just going to avoid each other, so we don't have to worry too much about all that stuff. Is some of this luck? Maybe. I don't know, guys. I don't worry about it because I'm not the game designer and control this. I simply play Dota. Deso, great. You know how this guy's a rat? He's thinking about ratting? Keeps the leveler in his backpack. So after he wins, or if he ever gets a chance to get in here, he's got the leveler to swap in to do extra building damage, maybe pass this off to one of his teammates so that they can like apply the negative armor for him while he does the bonus building damage. On the other hand, LGD, they eventually get a Desolator too, and they just leave it in their base. No one backpacks it or anything in case they ever get a chance to like get out here and rat. Spirit also picks up Book of the Dead. Fantastic for pushing out lanes. I think Quap's going to do that soon enough. Yeah, there she goes. So she's going to send them to help like push out lanes to deal with these like Naga illusions a little bit. Arcanist armor. So a couple of people were asking. Tusk originally had Ags queued up, and I actually think he should have done this. I think the ability to reposition a hero is really powerful, especially in this stage of the game where like people die really quickly. Maybe a little worse since they don't have lockdown to keep that hero in the back. So depending who you kick back, it may not matter. But I still think it's really good. But they pick up Arcanist armor, and Tusk changes his mind. So here's Tusk's perspective. This is him. This is what I mean, guys. No one plays this far. No pros are not ready. This is Tusk's cursor reading what Arcanist armor does, reminding himself, like, okay, yeah, this is what I've got. All right. And I think off of that, he decides to open up his shop. We got to switch back to the old layout. Opens up his shop, looking for, where is it? Chainmail. Yes, chainmail. Blade mail. Yes. Because now Blade Mail, active plus Arcanist armor, is going to reflect 140 damage. I don't know if this is good or not. A lot of people ask me this. I have 2 theories. One theory, they're actually both the same theory. One theory is that combining Blade Mail and Arcanist armor is going to reflect 140 damage. Tusk is a strength hero, so pretty much anyone trying to kill him will probably kill themselves first before they kill Tusk, because they're taking increased damage and having to go through a large health pool, and then he's got like decent resistances as well. So in that sense, his team gets more damage if he is blade mailed and Arcanist armor. And the issue with the blade mail is that you could just not be hit. Tusk, though, has been putting himself in repeated danger, blinking in to like save or initiate, and then he's the primary target. So in that sense, he will be hit, and that's why you can get value out of blade mail. And to that extent, theory 2 is that if they want to ignore him when he has blade mail and Arcanist armor active, blade mail actually becomes a save item, where once he jumps in, he activates the blade mail, and no one wants to hit him because they'll kill themselves first, probably. And that allows him to just retreat, in theory. It didn't really play out, but I think it's a cool idea. And I don't know, maybe if you play it out again, it would look good. But at least in this game, it didn't quite work out. He never really lived. He ends up selling Aeon Disc because he didn't have slots for all this stuff. Aeon Disc procs later. He ends up selling it to have enough gold for buyback. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was the right play, but like the theory behind it is potentially pretty cool. I'd love to know like what he was thinking. But it didn't seem to work out this game because I don't think like damage and saves were strictly the issue. I feel like lockdown was the issue. And that's why I really think like there needs to be an Abyssal. Like Razor ends up getting another Hex. I don't know. She's got like this Nullifier queued up, but he already has a Nullifier, and a Nullifier also doesn't really stop people. Like it kind of prevents the Force Staff, but they can still kind of like waddle away, you know, or if they BKB, like the Nullifier doesn't matter. So I don't know. I think like hard lockdown, but also like splitting the farm to other people, because right now she's just like massively ahead in net worth, and these other heroes have like slots that they can go into. Like there will be a point where she casually has like 12k just sitting in her backpack and her gold, and like you could put an Ags on Dazzle so that he can refresh your BKBs and stuff or something. I don't know. I never see Ags on Dazzle. Maybe, you know, I don't even know if that's how that works. Maybe they don't know either, so they didn't want to give him gold, because no one ever gets to this point. But this is an issue with a lot of late game stuff, is like you feel the need as carries to like keep the lanes pushed out, and you do, but then I don't think you jungle. I think you let the supports and other cores who don't have like fully slotted buybacks, everything, farm. But Naga continued to farm, and she's just like backpacking items, which is not like, you know, a total waste. Like they are useful, but I think it's marginal compared to like open slot Dazzle with another like Hex or Ags or something like that. Oh, by the way, yeah, they get initiated on, and stuns are great, you know? So here's us popping all our BKBs and stuff. We all got to run away. And we didn't even expend that much on Team Spirit because we have the stuns and initiate. So we just get to like throw that out. And if people don't respect it, then they die. So everyone on LGD has to throw out their defensive stuff. And you may or may not have committed all that much. By the way, Rapier out on Monkey King. Pretty exciting stuff. LGD at this point, you know, it's a very even game at this point. Anyone could win. They're trying to play around their vision, you know, back to fundamentals. So they're coming out here. They read this correctly, that Spirit will come over here. So they're trying to get this Marcy. You see all the pinks coming out. Here's the soft Hex, though. And there's quite a lot of overlap on this. So Tusk ends up ulting her when there's still like 1.5 seconds left on Hex. And then, like, you know, they burst through a bunch of extra stuns. But I actually don't think you even needed to ult her on Tusk, which would allow him to stay further back to act as a save, or maybe now ult someone else. It is a pretty low cooldown, so maybe that's why he was just like, get in there, get it off. But I actually think it's like a complete overlap with the Hex. So I don't know. I guess it keeps her in place, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. You know, going back to the idea that like we only have Hexes for lockdown. You know, it doesn't actually stop anyone from moving. Just like slows them, but they can still move. So I don't know. You're seeing a lot of saves come out though. Marcy died, but besides her, like everyone else is gonna run away. Here's that blade mail, by the way. So here's the Tusk blade mail. Oh, you want to hit me? I reflect a bunch of damage, but because you started lower health than me, like I'll still kill you. So it was kind of funny. But I think she just kind of ignored it and tried to kill him anyways. But fortunately, we have like Graves still on point. Dazzle Graves this game were incredible, very well done. And they're all just gonna fall back. Not a lot of deaths because there's so many saves and they're on their own base. Then he sells his Aeon Disc to make sure he has buyback. And this is kind of the funny part. I don't know. I think Blade Mail should have probably been sold. I don't know if Blade Mail gives enough gold to have buyback, but I'm not sure if Blade Mail was the play. But like I said, I'm watching a replay, so I had all the time. I watched this a bunch of times to try to like decide if it was worth it. For him, he just had to guess on the fly. And I think I did something similar before too, so it's tough. Just another example. Monkey King ult to siege the building a bit. Oh, let's jump him. Nah, everything is like dodgeable, so they're just gonna like blink away, reflect the net, no one even cares. The only guy who can do it is Tusk ult. LGD try to smoke out next. And I don't know, because it feels a little weird. I think the idea is that Dazzle has Aeon Disc plus Tusk has Snowball Save. You need him to place the vision to fight around. So, like, who else has slots for wards? It's only Dazzle at this point. I think that's why Dazzle's up front. But it sure is funny to see the backline, leading. This fight... Here's the vision, by the way. Here's why Dazzle's up front. This fight is actually, in theory, kind of good. This Snowball, or the Ice Shards by Tusk, traps Bane and Monkey King right here. So it should almost be like a 2v3 fight. They can't deal with this, so like if he tries to Fiend's Grip, he'll just get it canceled. Razor blinks in, tries to jump the Quap, but guess what? We used our stuns earlier, so in a moment, she's just gonna blink away again. There it is. And now we've kind of zone controlled ourselves on LGD, where there's like a Fiend's Grip going on over here. Coddle can't do anything. Supports are back here. They can't like walk in too close. And we're kind of getting away with Song, but we can't even like safely run through here because Monkey King can actually just hop onto trees and pursue. And it becomes this like kind of awkward side where it's just like very difficult to do anything. And so even though it started off in a good spot, everyone just like dodged them until shards were down, and then Monkey King's back in the fight, and he's just like, he's getting kills. Spirit tries to smoke. They don't actually quite catch anyone. But, you can try this stuff. They push out all their lanes before trying because it fails. They don't want to chase too far. There's a video on this. Don't chase too far. You'll throw fights. So they just fall back. They reposition around their wards, and then, hey, Quap, go push things out. Quap's the one who's pushing all this stuff because she has double Lincolns from her talents, and then Refresher if you want more, and a BKB in that time. Very hard to kill her. She's also been using Trickster Cloak quite a lot. She's been swapping this out so that the only people carrying detection at this point are supports when they have slots. And you can see it's quite limited because they lost a gem. So if the cores are all jumping her, they need like 3 to 5 hexes, assuming Quap does not BKB in time. Which, they're trying to come get her. They don't want to take the full team fight. They know Quap's been split pushing. Quap activates Book of the Dead, swaps it out. Team Spirit did a lot of cool backpack management very fast. I'm not going to say names, but LGD were not as good about this, about using their Roche things and then swapping in the cheese and stuff like that. Extra neutrals, that Deso 2 was in the base for quite a while until now. Nothing to say, picks it up. Here's an example. Quap on her own versus like 4 to 5 heroes. And guess what? We just don't have a good way to lock her down because we have to activate so many single targets through all her blinks. So she just blinks, BKBs, and walk away through a full teamfight engagement. Up to here, it was like, kind of okay. At least they all blinked and BKB'd and stuff we can get out. But then, again, because you have this like reposition, easy stun, they throw Naga back in. The clones are not affected by Song. So the fight gets re-engaged. Monkey King doing the fast finger stuff. BKB'd, ulted here, swaps in his Refresher. Watch his perspective. Let's actually watch his perspective so you can see it. Tries to kill Naga, saves, so switch to Razor. Activates Refresher. Is currently hexed. In the time he's hexed, swaps BKB back in so that he can ult. And then BKB soon once it's ready. Coming up here, that was the BKB earlier was from Marcy's lifesteal. So now we can ult and BKB if needed. If they had kept going, they don't. So this is just good stuff though to he had it ready if the fight kept going. And this is hard to keep in mind like as you get in these fights. So very good by Team Spirit. They were really good about this stuff. Off of that, Team Spirit was gonna try to sneak Roche. I don't know, like sneak it, but like force it. Thought they could do it fast enough. But as LGD scouts it out, they're going to back off. And then we end up in a weird position fight. So over here, we have Tusk and Coddle, who have a good amount of lockdown and disruption between the two. But because of his build, Coddle does not do that much damage at this point, and neither does Tusk because he's not that farmed. So we have a lot of lockdown over here, and then the last pseudo lockdown over here, the save, trying to like watch both sides of the fight with Grave, but also like who do I poison touch? The lockdowns over here, while the damage, Razor and Naga are over here. And they have some control themselves, so like maybe they can get kills on their own, but they should be enabled more. Whereas these guys, I really don't think can get any kills on their own at this stage of the game. I think it's just tough. So because of that, like Marcy, you know, all this stuff, she's just gonna get away. On the other hand, Quap, who's like a bit isolated during this time, still ends up surviving because she's just gonna force staff away or get force staff, then like blink away, choose when to go in, and Dazzle does end up making his way back over, but I feel like that opportunity was gone at that point. Trying to save the Naga at this point, but you know, can't because they don't have any like stuns to help her out. She's goodbye back, trying to make her way back in. I guess she TP'd. I think she tried to TP out here, right? Yeah, she tried to TP out, so now she doesn't have it. She didn't have a refresher. So this fight's, you know, it's just taking time for her to get back, and in the meantime, Spirit is going to run it down. This is where as LGD, you got to start thinking like a rat because this base fight's been going so long. You know, lanes are getting awfully close. This is where you can like song blink in before anyone can BKB, and like someone else TP'd down here with the Deso, and it's just like megaing them or like killing this last tower and stuff, you know. But they try to come back in like zone off Roche. They're gonna like respect it. They're gonna back off. Not Yatoro. Toronto Tokyo coming out split pushing, really good about it. Gonna activate Book of the Dead soon. Swap that out. Throw it in. And then what I thought was really cool and literally game winning is he sends this back to base. I think a lot of people would have just like A-clicked it down the lane to like shove it out, but he knows he's got to protect his base. He's a rat thinker, you know? I gotta protect the base. So he's sending it back here. Possibly also because the bottom lane's here and he knows how to deal with that. So, you know, maybe that's why. But I think it's both, you know, a bit of both. Anyways, the fight's going on here or whatever. Who cares? I guess we care, right? So coming over here is where I don't mean to flame too much because this shit's tough. Spirit actually stopped hitting until Tusk would come out so they could kill him. Nothing to say. Faith Beyond, waiting to blink in, goes for it. I think, you know, the heat of the moment, the panic maybe got to him a bit. Does BKB, but actually never uses his Hex. I think he could have hexed Monkey King here to survive a little longer. Maybe steal some of this stuff. He was probably like panic clicking here to try to find the items. God knows where anything is. I mean, look at this mess, right? So I feel for the guy. He's just trying to steal Aegis. Can't see shit in here. He's probably blind right now. There's so many particle effects going on. He can't see his, like, what to do. But unfortunately, this is not like full max value, like triple hex with like all his refreshes and everything. So he steals like the refresher, and that's kind of cool, but he doesn't get like the total value out of it. So the fight ends up going a little longer here. And this is again where I think like, you know, Rat Dota, go to the base kind of thing. And you would have forced them all, or not all, but like several of them to retreat or potentially win the game instead of trying to like force fight this Roshan. Like, oh, we must win this Roshan. Like, let them do Roshan and like rat the base. So this is where Tusk tries to TP in. He buys back, buys his bots, TPs here as soon as buyback became available, but it actually gets killed by the Book of the Dead. And I want you to see how good Toronto Tokyo is, guys. This is, I could have made this video like 1 minute just to show this, and maybe we will. So he instantly targets it down. I want you guys to see his perspective on how quickly he does this shit. Let's go back 10 seconds, right? Here he is, playing the game, fighting it out. Tusk doesn't even buy back yet. He doesn't even know. Look at that shit. Did you guys even process that? I didn't process that. Here he is. He like flips back down here. He's moving the creeps down, sees it, clicks it, right back to the fight. This is in a fourth of the time, guys. That guy has insane control on his mouse. I definitely would have clicked the wrong creep. Tusk would have TP'd in and then killed my base. And Tusk could have won because he took the Deso, Tusk at this point has like 300 damage. The base, you know, is only so healthy. So very much Tusk could have possibly ratted this down if Toronto Tokyo had not moved these creeps in here earlier and then had like sick ass micro to target the right creep. I thought that was awesome. And then off of this Roche fight that they end up losing, Team Spirit wins because LGD GG's out after this. They have too many heroes without buyback, and they have successfully like defended their base from rats, which I don't think LGD really tried. You know, I feel like they always... It was weird because they like pressured up here. They sometimes moved here, but I don't feel like they ever like tried to just like smoke in or like set it up where like the enemy was split off and go in, send a hero in, or I don't know, maybe that's too much to ask for. Just because it is scary, like if one hero dies, you're in a bad spot. So maybe it is better to take the full team fights. But especially as things got dire, I'm pretty sure, I think it was like Fnatic when it had like a weird mix of NA players. I'm pretty sure they won a game where they like Naga'd a team out here, and then I think actually it was like over here, and then other heroes just ran in and ratted the base. You know, I feel like you have to keep these possibilities open. I think Naga's good at that kind of stuff because you have like Song is so large, you can disable a whole group for quite a while and have people come in and kill it, and maybe even just like recall them out. You know, just send a guy in, try to like rat this down. Razor, like let Razor farm enough money for an Ags, and then just like double ult. Bots in, recall them out, wreck this barracks and get out. I don't know. Maybe it's too much to even say. Just because like obviously these kind of late games are super hectic, and this stuff's easy to say in hindsight. But anyways, hope you found that interesting. I think this ended up like, yeah, it was a very long video, but I don't know, it's kind of unavoidable, right? It's such a long game. So I hope you found it interesting, and I will see you in the next one.